Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing The Night Market, a game designed by Adams Wayne, put out by Talon Strike Studios, and this is a game that, depending on when you watch this video, is either shortly coming to Kickstarter or already on Kickstarter. A link will be down below. And in The Night Market, you are managing, sure enough, your night markets. You're going to be sending out your employees to the city to gather the raw resources you need in order to populate your own individual stalls and attract the best customers and ultimately win by having the most points, accomplishing different objectives, and all that. There's going to be a lot of different things going on here, but that main mechanic is what drives the game. Go to the city, you're going to have a main placement phase here where you take your individual workers, putting them out one at a time on different locations on the city in order to gather those raw resources. And once that whole phase is done, you're going to move to managing your own night market, to setting up your stalls, putting the food in various stalls, selling your sushi, selling your, I don't think there's sushi in this game, selling your tofu, selling your sausages, whatever it is you're selling, and then attracting customers in order to satisfy those customers, because a market with no customers is not going to last very long at all. Along the way, you're going to be leveling up different objectives, different tiers, or so to speak, of getting more chefs or adding more stalls or doing different things that will increase the way you can play the game or the advantages you have over your opponents. And so that's a high level of what's going on in the game. But to go down to it a little bit more, the way this city phase is going to play out is one at a time. You're going to take a turn putting down your meeples on spots on the board, followed by other players putting down their meeples as they do it, round and around, one meeple at a time. Every time you put down a meeple, you will get the resource on that location. But then the fun part comes when you start chaining things. Because when you skip a location, when you have an empty spot between you, you're going to get the spot that you put your worker down on, as well as the spot in between your two workers. And then to top that off, if you get 3 in a row, you will be able to get all 3 at once. So your activations start off with 1, but then you can get 2, then you can get 3. And if you start getting really fancy and complicated, you can start setting up these daisy chains where you put one across there, at which point I'll be able to put one here, get a whole bunch here, get here. You're trying to keep an eye on those various angles so you can both get what you want that is going to help you by both being targeted and precise, as well as getting everything you possibly can by just putting down your workers and getting as much as you possibly can. Once you manage that puzzle, and it is a puzzle because different players are going to be getting in your way, or I say there's one more part I should talk about here, which is many of those locations are going to have a lantern on it. And when you go on a lantern, you're going to use that as an opportunity in order to upgrade one of your different things on your player board. Your player board has a few different upgrade tracks. They're not really upgrades so much as doing different core abilities. Those are going to be acquiring new customers, acquiring new stalls, and gathering chefs. And all those things are going to help you in different ways. You need more stalls because the more stalls you have, the more food you can host and the more flexibility you have when it comes to appeasing your customers. You need more customers because, well, customers buy food, so shockingly enough, you need more customers. And then chefs are going to be helpful because they're going to give you additional activations, and also they're going to leave various meeples on the board. So the chefs are special meeples that as soon as you buy one, it goes on the board, giving you an additional action right away. Additionally, it stays on the board round to round, giving you more food quicker and setting up more comboing. Practically speaking, the more meeples you have on the board, the more likely it is you're getting giant amounts of raw resources in order to cash them in at your night market. When all that is said and done, you're going to move over to actually managing your stalls. You're going to go to your individual night market and do everything you need. So along the way, you may have bought additional stalls. You'll be putting those stalls down in different locations. You may have acquired different customers. And when you acquire those customers, you're going to use that information to drive the type of resources you get. So perhaps I get this customer who is going to want some tofu as well as any resource of their choice. Different customers will have different requirements, and each of the 4 main customer types comes with a bit of a theme of their own advantage or thing they do differently. So for instance, tofu customers are flexible in the fact that they want some tofu and some other stuff. Other customers have their own different spin or twist to it. And then so now that I know that I have a tofu customer, I'm trying to get my hands on as much tofu as possible, and it's okay if I get other stuff because I can sell it as well. But the thing you want to be mindful of is because setting up your market is a huge part of the puzzle in this game. This game, the night market, is effectively 2 puzzles combined in one. The placement phase where you battle other players for prime spots on the board, getting both the upgrades you need as well as the resources you need, and then the actual managing of your own individual night market, where you have to manage both your player board. So you're going to have your player board over here. This is a prototype, by the way, so I assume this will be thicker than what it is right now, but it's a good time to mention this entire game is a prototype. All rules and components are subject to change, of course. And so you're going to have your own individual night market with that 4x4 grid that you're managing, and that 4x4 grid is relevant because you'll see each customer has their own 4x4 grid that you're trying to manage, and that is the spots on the board that they are going to go to. Customers have their own path, their own specific preferences to the areas of the night market that they're going to go to, and you have to try to balance that. So you have to both have the night market, then you have to buy more stalls, put those stalls in the right locations, gather the right food, put those foods on the various stalls, and then try to match up your customers in whatever way you want. So what I mean by when I say match up your customers in whatever way you want is each individual stall can hold between 1 and 4 different pieces of food. And it's going to be important to manage which stalls are holding which food, because as you acquire more customers, you're going to find that customers have overlap in the various spots they're going to. These 2 customers on these 2 stalls both want, the green whatever that is, the sandwich thing. I don't actually know most of the foods in this game. And then, of course, anything else. So if you manage the overlap of your customers, if you manage the different customers that you have, the different spots that they're going to, and try to populate those stalls in the way that is most beneficial, you'll be able to sell to as many customers as possible. That is the core engine of this game. There's a few other things we didn't talk about. So for instance, there's special goods. When you produce enough of a regular good, you'll have access to the special good, which is going to give you its own upgrade path as you sell those special goods to customers. There's going to be scooters that help you manage resources that you have left at the end of the round. There's going to be the fact that customers are loyal. If they buy enough goods from you, they become loyal customers, both flipping over for the next season, so they're available for the next season, as well as giving you points, as well as paying more for whatever they buy next season. And then there's going to be awards that you're going to get in the game that every single season, there's 4 rounds to the game, 4 seasons, and every season is going to give you a different award. They're variable, so you put them out in the game. So for instance, right now for the first season, we have most goods sold at tonight. The next round is going to be the most money earned tonight. So there can be different objectives, how players are going to be trying to get those different benefits in order to get one of these special tiles that will then go into your night market, giving you either points or benefits along the way. That is the core engine of how you play the night market. As far as what I like about this game, there's going to be a few things. To begin with, I like the powers and abilities going on here. In general, that's my thing. I like it when a game gives you abilities or things that make you feel like you can do more. The customers in the stall aren't inherently powers and abilities, but they very much do end up being that. The customers let you sell more and more and more, and as you acquire these customers, they don't necessarily last forever, although there are ways to make sure that they do, but they give you more stuff you can sell, more people you can sell to, and more aspects of the puzzle you manage. The stalls you get are going to be permanent upgrades that help you level up your own individual night market. The chefs you get are going to go on this board, giving you more placements, giving you more strategic locations, letting you set up for next round, locking yourself in. Whenever you sell those deluxified goods, there's 4 different tracks, all rewarding you with different things, from upgrades to your various stalls, to giving you special deliveries at the beginning of each round, to giving you permanent customers. You can get this token that you can put on a customer that they stay every single round for the rest of the game, which is both an obligation, but also saves you from having to constantly go out and get new customers when it is inconvenient to do so. And then finally, you can sell your deluxified goods for more. So there's going to be all that upgrade stuff going on over here. There's going to be the concept of the perfect round, that if you can perfectly and efficiently sell all your goods, you're going to get additional bonuses, which may not seem like a lot, but they can be incredibly key in actually winning that game. So managing your scooters, because scooters will let you both store goods till next round as well as sell extra goods, giving you more ways to manage how you get rid of goods, giving you more ways to manage this engine going on here. So the powers and abilities, the puzzle is going to be a huge thing for me. Like I said already, the night market gives you 2 different puzzles in this game. It gives you an area control, worker placement kind of situation going on the board here, and this board is variable. It's going to be variable every single game, and it's also going to mix up round to round. Every single round, you're going to flip over certain tiles and slowly add new tiles to the board, so you're constantly fighting over this territory with other players, with an ever-evolving board that is going to be different in terms of what you are trying to get, what they are trying to get, which stalls you have, which customers you have, which customers they have. All of those things will factor into how you manage where to go, where to put your own workers, where to put your own workers to manage the fact that other players are likely not going to try to stop you. If you see Peter over there is not going for tofu, then that is going to inform your decision as to where you can place your workers in the way that is least likely to get you blocked. And also, if you notice that Wanda over there is, going for tofu, you may well know where the best spot to go is to block her. So being aware of what other players are doing is going to contribute to that puzzle. And then when all that is done, you're going to move over to your player board where you have to manage that puzzle all over again. You have to sit there and all those things you got, all those things you're trying to be mentally cognizant of as that first part of the round played out, now you have to actually try to make it all work. Now you have to try to sell to all those customers to ensure that you are both being as efficient as possible, because you will get important bonus points while also not getting too little stuff because you don't want to lose out on a sale at the end of the day. And so that puzzle in the night market is going to be huge. The overabundance of goods in this game makes it feel that you are never really missing out. So this is actually relevant to the Shadow Network, which is another game by Talon Strike Studios that I reviewed. The Shadow Network was a game that I enjoyed, but I didn't love the constriction of having to perfectly min-max every single thing. While the night market very much does give you the puzzle of min-maxing, it does so while giving you enough resources that half the challenge at times is not just, okay, great, I need more tofu. It's also, I need more tofu, but I also need to make sure I don't get too much of this, because sometimes that will be part of the problem. The game does not stifle you in resources. It forces you to think, it forces you to plan, but you are not stifled and feeling like you are eking out every last thing that you can get in this game. As far as what I didn't like about the game, I'm not such a huge fan of the art, iconography, or any of that. The box art, to be clear, is gorgeous. I think the box art is absolutely gorgeous. Love that. The rest of the game is okay. It's fine. It's not pulling me in with the art, which is fine. It doesn't need to. Castle of Burgundy is one of my favorite games of all time. Terraforming Mars is one of my favorite games of all time. But it certainly is a minor strike against it that I'm just not pulled in. Additionally, the board is visually a little bit messy, a little bit cluttered. These tiles, it's not that hard to read them. They do have a common theme, but at first they do come across as messy until you realize the color patterns going on, and then putting additional workers on the board further adds to that clutter with all the meeples you have on the board combined with the sheer color mess that is going on at the table. It is not hard to play, to be clear. It does not get in the way of the gameplay, but it's just not visually stimulating itself. Additionally, the game does run a little long at 4 players. For myself, I prefer this game at 3 players. I would say I'm reluctant to play this at 4 players again. While the puzzle is fun, while the experience is fun, the 4-player game, the work to reward ratio, the depth of the game versus the length of the game didn't actually do it for me in terms of the 4-player experience. I mean, I got multiple games in a 4 players, but I've since resolved that this is a game that is primarily going to hit the table with 3 players, at least for myself. 2 players I have not tried, so I can't speak for the interaction. I know that the board does shrink with the player count, so it likely won't be that problematic, but keep in mind, it's still going to be something where I think that 3rd player, I think 3 players is going to be the sweet spot, but I'm saying that as someone who has only played it at 3 and 4 players. And then lastly, teaching the game is not super intuitive. The game does come with a tutorial mode that I actually don't like it in terms of teaching the game myself, but I find that teaching the game is a little bit of a trick to kind of get people to understand the whole grid, to understand the customer grid, how that overlays with your own market, how that whole sequence goes, because the problem is there's too many 4x4s going on here, and so people are looking at the stalls have a 4x4, the customers have a 4x4, the grid is a 4x4, and kind of figuring out what lines up with what I have found to be a bit of a challenge every time I've taught this game so far. As far as I can see others not liking this puzzle, this game is going to be a bit of a mental struggle in terms of visualizing those customers. You're going to have these customers over here that you have to try to, when you have 1 or 2 customers, it's not a big deal. When you have 3 or 4 customers, it becomes a bit of a sitting there at the table trying to figure out, well, this customer overlays with that, and this overlays with that, and trying to struggle and balance all the resources that have to go on the table, that have to go on the various stalls as you play the game. I can certainly see that being frustrating for something that people don't like. Playing most optimally would likely involve paying more attention than some would like. Like I mentioned already a little bit earlier in the stuff that I do like, knowing what other people are going for, knowing what other people are pursuing and what they're not pursuing will help you have more of a strategic round in terms of this middle placement. But that might be more than other people are actually looking to do in this game. That might be more homework, so to speak, in terms of having to not only balance your own game, but understand which customers, which other players at the table are looking for tofu or not looking for tofu. And then finally, the round rewards, I can see that being a little frustrating for some. Keep in mind, this is a game where already the rich are going to get richer as they play the game, and inherently the round rewards are not only rewarding that further, but they often do so in a way that is just frustrating to have to alter your strategy to go for them. In general, in this game, it's not as simple as sitting there and trying to optimize around the round rewards, but rather some of these will or won't line up with the customers you have gathered, with even your own starting benefit, because you're going to have your own unique starting positions in this game, and some of those round rewards are just going to sit there and try to pull you away from what you want to do, to have to go after those in order to stop somebody else from getting richer in a game where the rich already get richer, and I can see that being frustrating for some people. As far as my final thoughts on the Night Market, while the Night Market is a game I enjoy, the art at the same time is a bit underwhelming. That player count can be a little bit long, some of the gameplay aspects can be a bit fiddly, but I love the puzzle being presented here. I love the min-maxing of trying to both manage the central puzzle over here, as well as your player board. I love the overlaying of the customers, the gathering different stalls, all the upgrades and abilities you have to manage, which one you're going to get in which order, and then tallying all that up at the end of the game to try to see who won is an experience that I have been enjoying. Overall, the Night Market's given me a puzzle that comes in at roughly 90 minutes, or at least at that 3-player count, roughly 90 minutes. Like I said already, the 4-player count I found adds more playtime without adding more to my own experience. But overall, the Night Market is a game that I have been enjoying and will be adding to my collection. As far as my rating of this one, I give it a 3 out of 5, which I have my whole ratings down below in the description. But a 3 out of 5 is a good game that I either am or am not adding to my collection, depending on, well, my collection, the people I play with, and all of that. Overall, the Night Market is fitting a good spot for a 3-player game, and in general, I actually find 3-player games are one of the hardest spots to fill in my own collection, and so I'm happy to add the Night Market to add to that. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, have a good one.